Okay. Tuesday edition of the After Show. Got Wake and Justice with you. Wake over here on the East Coast.
And Justice over here on the west coast of the contiguous United States of America. It is Red Sky at Morning Tuesdays here on the After Show because there's a storm brewing somewhere on some horizon in the world. Yes. Hey, Wink, how are you doing?
Not bad, not bad. It is 45, and that's pretty much the high for the day. It's going to kind of drop off as the day progresses. But a little drizzle out there, but nothing serious. It looks like a nice little... late March, early April kind of day out there. Reminder to get in the chat, just go to netrootsradio.com, scroll down the bottom of the page, and on the right-hand side of the bottom of the page, there is a link to the chat, so click that, join us there.
And, of course, the contribute, donate buttons are just to the left of the chat room link, and thank you for your generosity. We are in need of backup equipment and software upgrades, so thank you for helping us attend to that. And after show pods can be had by way of Spreaker.
Yes.
We call that the raw data file. Comes up sometimes right after the show and sometimes a little bit later, but it comes up, and that's what we call the raw data file. The perfected file will come later on Podbean, iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, all the others. Oh, God. See, I tried to avoid. I hate saying iHeart like I hate saying President Trump. Okay.
Yeah.
That's all right. It's in the Netroots Radio style book. Wink. I think
it is.
We can make a veiled reference to it, but regardless. But you can get the after show pods by several platforms. Well, Wink, here along the banks of the Rogue River in the Rogue River Valley of Southern Oregon, it is currently 41 degrees. We are under an allergy alert. And knock on the proverbial wood, I didn't get hit. Though my poor sister, she was suffering yesterday. So
I've been lucky so far.
You know, when the acacias would come into flower in the Bay Area in Berkeley, boy, it just knocked me on my rear. Massive headaches and sneezing, wateries, itchy eyes, God. And so I guess there's no acacias around here. Give it time, and I will develop something growing around here. It's the way of human life, Wink.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And let's see, we're supposed to go up to 65 today, partly cloudy. No rain, they say. Winds light and variable, 5 to 10 miles out of the south-southwest. And then tomorrow we will be back to rain, and Thursday rain. Oh my gosh, it looks like I'm going to have to mow the lawn this weekend.
Yeah.
Looks like we're going to have quite a bit of sun until next week. Oh, goody. Boy, I'm taking out these hedges that came with the house. Quite established, very woody, very deadly. They have these really long thorns on them.
Ooh, yeah.
It's not a pyracantha. It doesn't really, but it's like a pyracantha if anyone's familiar with that. And you don't want to stay away from it. So I always figured that the person who put them in thought, well, I just don't want anybody climbing over my fence to get into my yard. Well, unfortunately, a 7-year-old girl riding her bicycle near it got one of these thorns and had to go to the ER. Oh, my God. Just a little kid. So I was thinking, we'll shape them and keep them in, and it'll be a deterrent to people climbing over the fence. But once your bushes start attacking the little kids in the neighborhood, I think it's time for them to go. So tomorrow we have a crew coming in to pop them all out. And then I'm going to replant the hedge with a proper privet, as should have been done in the beginning. If you want a privacy hedge, you get a privet. Hence the name, privet, for private. I don't know. Some people's landscaping conceits are a little not to my liking, as they would say. I guess we could have got sued. Maybe we still will be. I don't know. The idea of my bush hurting a kid, any sort of compassion that I might have had for its existence, I'm sorry, waned. This is when I'm going to become kind of like the authoritarian species dictator. I'm sorry. It's the one time I'm going to say I'm going to mold my environment in the way I want it rather than just adapting to the environment. I'm a human. Sue me. And I guess I will be in, the next realm of existence. Boy, speaking of next realm of existence, Wink, what the hell is going on in the White House? Man, they are on a whole other plane, another dimension. Now, I don't know if you heard, but Sally Yates, the previous interim attorney general, who was fired for telling the truth.
Right.
Well, we were supposed to have first an open hearing in the Intelligence Committee, and then Nunez shut that down when, he got caught essentially colluding with the President of the United States, who is the subject of an investigation. So he canceled the closed hearing. Never guess who was going to testify in that closed hearing. Yes, Sally Yates.
Yeah.
And the White House is now invoking the White House Communications Act, that whatever she has to say is privileged communication. Which I think, if you want to look at it the way you would if you were watching Law and Order, ta-dunk.
Exactly.
I do think these guys are very, very guilty. Okay. This is where we are, folks. And yet there's a sizable population in the United States who thinks it's perfectly okay that Putin's taking over and putting America back the way it should have been. What the hell? Now, I must say that the Russian Hessians who helped us in the revolution were but a small little faction, much smaller than the French help. But I guess we do have some precedent about the Russians, or I don't know, maybe they were Prussians. A little bit of Russian, a little bit of German. Regardless, Wink, there's some people who think that it's perfectly okay that a white nationalist from an former Eastern Soviet bloc, will, make America the way great again, the way it should have been in the beginning. Is that brainwashing or is that brainwashing?
Yeah.
I don't get it. I mean, how many decades did how do they turn it on and off is what I want to know. Because how do you turn on? First of all, you got turned on about, the Russians and Soviets, they are a threat to our way of life. And then you turn that off, and then you turn on the other button that says the Russians and Putin are the only way that we can preserve our way of life. How does that? I guess you have to have a special mind that only a certain segment of the population, and just happens to be the ones that vote Republican, they have that. Now, is that an anomaly in evolution? Is that a defect? From my perspective, Wink, and I think maybe yours too, it does seem very much like a defect.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I guess we have to break bread with them and do what they say. It's the only way to have bipartisan agreement. Can you believe the president saying, as the Democrat, he kind of blames the Democrats, well, none of them voted. Yeah, we're going to vote to have our throats slit. Yeah, you just wouldn't help us, get, pass the bill that would destroy, what you guys did. Yeah, yeah, we wanted to get behind that. We were so wrong not to. I just... You know what it is, Wink? When the Trump White House, Trump looks in the mirror, and all the Trump aides, Kushner, all of them, when they look in the mirror, you know what they see? They see the Godfather.
Right. Yep.
Right? But I got to tell you, I think it's a little bit more like the crew in Donnie Brasco. Okay? They're not even good fellas. They're the Al Pacino character in Donnie Brasco. Everybody thinks they're Michael in The Godfather in the White House. Nope. They're the guy that Al Pacino played in Donnie Brasco.
Yep.
I'm just saying, it didn't end well for him. And why? Because they were kind of idiots. And I say that in a relative term by the use of kind of. Because I'm being polite, because they are idiots. Let's get clear. Okay, we better get going here. Because it's Tuesday and we get to visit with Chris Reeves. And that's where we get grounded and speak on a more, well, how shall we say, a more heady, activist, let's get the work done sort of way, rather than just, what I like to do, and that's like paw at the moon.
Right. Okay.
This first story here on issues that we will be attending to in the top half just burns me up, because it is the exact culmination of what we all fear because of this blame the brown person, blame the immigrant. When you're caught dealing with a Russian bank that's under investigation for laundering money, of course you're going to get racist and blame a bunch of brown people for the ills of the world, right? I mean, it's an old dodge. I mean, Trump and his crew aren't doing anything new.
Right.
When times are tough, kick the immigrant. It's an American institution, damn it. So I'm not surprised by it. But what happens is that, it's one thing to kick the immigrant, right? It's one thing to kick, like the illegal. People can get behind that. What happens when U.S. citizens and legal residents, people who are lawfully allowed, I love that, allowed to be here?
Right.
Okay, well, an unarmed legal resident is in critical condition after ICE agents raided his Chicago home and shot him. No, not great. Yeah, we mentioned about that too. What could happen from a no-knock raid? Yeah, they went to the wrong house. That's what happens. Hey, as Democratic attorneys general target Trump, Republican attorney generals target them. Yep. And after Jeff Sessions threatened to go after sanctuary cities, California Congressman Ted Lieu reminds the nation that Sessions lied under oath twice during his confirmation hearing. Kind of makes him illegitimate, wouldn't it be? Yeah, wink. My gosh. Hey, but like I said, this is where we get grounded on Tuesdays for the last half. We visit with Chris Reeves, always affectionately known as well as Tom Servo 433. Yep. We're going to get an update on the Kansas 04 special election, the Kansas Senate moving on Medicaid expansion. Of course, the governor's just sitting by. A hero is feted. And the U.S. Senate just voted to allow your ISP to sell your browsing history. Oh, my God. I guess I'm not going to those porno sites on Tumblr anymore. My God, wink.
Yeah.
All that, plus the Connect, Unite, Act, Daily Codes community calendar, and more on the after show with that ever so fine fellow over there on the East Coast with his East Coastal elitism, though subtle it be. And his name is Wink, and this guy all the way back over here on the West Coast. Unabashed elitism. Can't you tell? My name is Justice, and we do this 5 days a week for an hour-ish in this specific, particular, and peculiar tear in the fabric of space-time, because who loves you, baby? Okay. Hey, I did get a message from Arliss Bunny yesterday just about general stuff, and so we miss them. They've been busy and had things going on, and can't wait till they start doing some shows again.
Yes.
Because talk about being grounded and actually attending to, the task at hand.
Right.
I like to do things with a broad brush on occasion, just, for entertainment purposes. Boy, oh boy, wink. So the Sally Yates thing actually could turn into quite a kerfuffle, I think. especially when the White House is banking on the White House Communications Act, where it's like my lawyer, and you can't we can't talk about what my lawyer and I talked about. I don't know if you're going to do what Bannon says and deconstruct all the institutions. This is all part of it, isn't it?
Yep.
I mean, it's just right in our face. This isn't in our face. This is slap. This is punching us in the gut and 2 left hooks. And then, I don't know, maybe a right jab, another left hook. And then a kick to the nuts. That's how blatant it is. There's nothing secret.
No, they don't try to hide it. That's for sure.
Oh, my God, no. And do you think that maybe causing the Senate Intelligence Committee to lose all respect, I mean, isn't that part of the plank of deconstruction as well? Where that committee cannot really effectively investigate this sabotage? Interesting. Or let's not even call it sabotage. Let's call it RICO mob BS. I mean, this is really what it is. We don't even need to deal with nation states anymore. It's a RICO investigation. Mobsters who just happen to sit in the highest seats of power in the former Soviet bloc, and people here on our end. My God. Okay, ICE agents raided a Chicago home and shot a guy just because, he was brown. This is by Aaron Corbett out of Raw Story. Felix Torres, a Chicago man, was shot by an ICE agent yesterday morning around 6 a.m. local time. Officials alleged in a statement that ICE was at Torres' home in an attempt to make an arrest when someone pointed a weapon at agents, leading to the shooting. Family members who spoke with NBC Chicago said Torres was unarmed. His daughter Carmen explaining that no one was told why agents were at their home. Chicago's police response team, an activist organization dedicated to supporting efforts to end police violence in Chicago, noted that there were at least 8 family members in the home at the time of the raid. Wink. 8 people were living in that home. A mom, a dad, maybe a grandma and a grandpa. Oh my God. And then 4 kids. It must have been a sleeper cell. After speaking with Torres' daughter, the People's Response Team added that no members of the family are undocumented, and the family has lived at the home for at least 30 years. Carmen Torres said they didn't say anything. They just came in and pointed pistols in our faces and dragged us out. It's a lie when they say he was holding a gun. He doesn't even own a gun. They shot my dad. They shot him, and I don't know why. ICE officials said they were at the residence, not at the residence to arrest Torres. Well, that's nice. Alderman Gilbert Villegas, a city official, said we are going to have to talk to the Chicago Police Department to find out if this was a coordinated effort, because if it was in any way, that raises concerns about us as a sanctuary city. Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel has defended Chicago's status as a sanctuary city. However, ICE can still conduct raids, and the Chicago Police Department can both communicate and collaborate with ICE officials. Torres was taken to a nearby hospital on Monday where his condition was listed as critical, and the shooting is being investigated. Or, as they like to say, swept under the rug. This is my assessment of this, Wink. Now, of course, this is just speculation. This is in this reporter's opinion, but I think this is an example of what I call the Stasi quo. When neighbors are encouraged to spy and inform on their neighbors.
Yeah. Yep.
And somebody didn't like Felix Torres because they wanted his parking spot on the street. And they called up immigration and said, I think Grandma and Grandpa are undocumented. They've been here. Maybe Felix is a green card holder. Yeah, they lived here for a while, but we think Grandma and Grandpa are undocumented. They weren't there to arrest Felix Torres. Who were they there to arrest? Who just turned out not to be undocumented, but documented. If you're brown, you're going down.
Yeah.
Okay, great. I see. I'm just giving a heads up here. Tomorrow, these fellows were supposed to come and take out my hedges, but I see some people driving up that suspiciously look like maybe they're worker types. So I might have to alert my elderly mom.
Yeah.
Something's happening. I don't know. It could be for next door too, but it's just I saw one utility work truck pull up, and now another one's coming up, and I don't know what more work they're doing next door. I thought they were done getting ready to. I mean, it's staged inside. All right. So this next article is by Reuters. Does it give me writers and editors? Yes, reporting by Dan Levine of San Francisco, editing by Sue Horton and Paul Tomask. For years, the national political organizations of both Democratic and Republican state attorneys general observed an agreement not to target the other party's incumbent office holders in elections. Meaning that we Democrats won't target a Republican AG, and the Republican AGs won't target our Democratic AGs if they're incumbents. The hands-off stance ended this month when Republican AGs voted to abandon the agreement and spend money to help unseat Democrats in other states, according to the Republican Attorneys General Association. The decision had not been previously reported. Oh, how nice. They're keeping it secret, too. The move comes as Democratic attorneys general in states across the country have assumed lead roles in opposing some of Republican President Donald Trump's policies. Well, how interesting, Wink. How very interesting. State AGs in Washington and Hawaii have successfully sued to block Trump's executive orders restricting travel from some Muslim-majority countries, and California's Attorney General has pledged to defend the state's environmental standards. Well, we'll show you. So this is curious to me, Wink. I wonder how many of these attorneys general came out of the Federalist Society Farm Club. Yes, that Federalist Society with links to the Kochs, the Petersons, the Mercers, etc., etc., etc. The one that's been working for decades to stack our judiciary with extremist right-wing law types to give an original slant to the way a Democratic representative Republican should behave. So here we are. It's not about the law, Wink. It's about retribution and exacting revenge on a political opponent. How dare you? How dare you say that the president is acting in an unconstitutional way? We're just going to have to array our unlimited financial resources and to make sure you never practice law again. Well, there was a short spasm where attorneys general during the Bush administration considered stopping that agreement, but it never happened. And yet, in this instance, Wink, it was this instance, with all the stuff that's going on, all the investigations, all the abuses of power, this is the one that these attorneys generals on the Republican side decide this is just a bridge too far. We're going to have to go after him personally now. It just seems a little too cute. Just by coincidence. Sounds to me like a deconstructing of America's institutions as specified in the manifesto by Bannon and his Breitbart cronies. Or employees. He's, along with Mercer, of course. Okay. That's where we are, Wink. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
This next article is by Erin Corbett as well. As she had the first story. Now she's got the third story out of Raw Story. California Congressman Ted Lieu, Democrat, went after U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions on Twitter Monday afternoon, reminding everyone of Sessions' lies during his Senate confirmation hearings. Lieu went into attack mode on Monday after Sessions threatened to go after sanctuary cities during the daily White House press briefing. He said Sessions said the Justice Department would deny funding to cities unless they prove they aren't serving as immigrant sanctuaries. We're coming after the Jews. Just keep saying that and see how it sounds and how you feel about it. If you're hiding the Jews, we're going to cut off your funds. We don't like them tapping here. We're coming after them. You harbor them. You are an enemy of the state. Yes, y'all. Ted Lieu responded by saying, "Dear states, I'm thinking that since it's okay for AG Sessions to lie under oath to Congress, then it's okay for you to lie to him on the forms." What's the old adage, Wink? When lawmen break the law, there is no law.
Yeah.
Isn't that what happens? Well, Lieu was referring to Sessions' claim that he didn't know whether Trump campaign members had met with Russian officials. Sessions himself used campaign money for his trip to the RNC, where he met with Russian Ambassador Sergei Kislyak in an official capacity. I don't remember visiting with no Russians. I don't. Remember that? The California congressman followed up in another tweet writing, "Let's be clear. Attorney General Jeff Sessions is an illegitimate AG. He lied under oath to Congress to get confirmed. He should be indicted." Well, yeah. Over the weekend, Lieu also went after Donald Trump after Trump said he was going to sit back and watch as Obamacare explodes. "You truly are an evil man," Lieu wrote, referring to Trump as the president. Okay, well, at least it's good for elected officials to stand up to bullies, I think. And I suppose here's another brain teaser or a mental exercise you can try, Wink. Try this one. What would happen if Hillary Clinton, and that's all you need to say.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
As far as, yeah.
We would not be having a Supreme Court nominee for 4 years. We would not have an attorney general issuing edicts about opening up voting rolls for everybody to equally vote, for instance, let's say, right? And I actually think that Hillary Clinton, rather than being the sitting president, might be sitting in a cell while this all shakes out. But that's just in this reporter's opinion, of course. Hey, let's get to our Jim Hightower break. We'll come back, go over the Connect, Unite, Act Daily Codes community calendar, and then go over some real process and some real reportage with Chris Reeves. Let's get to that. You're listening to the After Show on Netroots Radio with Wink and Justice, and we will be right back.
You know what our country needs right now? I think we need something that can bring us together again, something that can heal the raw wound of deep political division imperiling our society. And guess what? One company has come out with just the balm America needs, an ad for a luxury automobile. Seriously? Yes, the cultural bridge builders at Cadillac have produced an advertising campaign intended not only to sell its pricey cars, but also to heal America's social divide. How? By reminding TV audiences about everyone's desire to achieve the American dream, as symbolized, of course, by the status symbol of owning a Cadillac. Seriously? Yes, the ad begins with a stark declaration. We are a nation divided. That's what they tell us. Then Cadillac's ad suddenly shifts gears, gliding into an uplifting, touchy-feely montage of all in this together inclusiveness. We carry each other forward, the narrator purrs, no matter who we are or what we believe. Mustering all of the modesty you would expect from a Cadillac executive, the corporation's marketing head explains that we didn't want to enter the political debate, we wanted to transcend it. Ah, yes, and how better to go beyond rancorous political disharmony than to drive away from it in a luxury car. This is Jim Hightower saying the corporate honchos tried out this message on an unbiased audience of Texas Cadillac dealers. And guess what? They loved it. One dealer gushed that the ad identifies the ultra-expensive car with, quote, unity, optimism, courage. Seriously? Yes, apparently Cadillac thinks the right and left, the rich and poor, can all become e pluribus unum again by unifying around America's new egalitarian slogan, a $100,000 car in every garage.
Need an antidote to the progressive blues? Want some good news about how grassroots folks are rebelling against the corporate powers and winning? Well, here's an easy-to-swallow pill for you, the Hightower Lowdown. Hightower's monthly newsletter will give you the lowdown, even as it lifts you up. It's 4 pages a month, jam-packed with facts you can use, actions you can take, and Jim's own Texas humor, all for only $15 a year. To become a lowdowner, go to hightowerlowdown.org.
You are listening to netrootsradio.com.
Please hang up and try again.
From a point at sea to the circles of your mind, a new force is at work for planetary transformation. New radio for a new Earth.
This is the After Show with Lincoln Justice. Justice here along the banks of the Rogue River in the Rogue River Valley of Southern Oregon on the West Coast. Wink is in upstate New York 21 on the East Coast. It seems like maybe Chris is a bit busy with some political business, and we'll connect with him while we go through the Connect, Unite, Act Daily Codes community calendar. But I also want to mention that our crew, of course, are the ethereal creatures who reside in the cloud whose advanced intergalactic technical abilities allow Netroots Radio and thus by extension the After Show to span the globe, the solar system, out past the Oort cloud, out past the bridge of stars between those two receding galaxies. And you know what, Wink? Even way past that massive black hole that's spewing out and giving birth to stars in its solar wind. We're out past that too. And beyond.
Oh, heck yeah.
Okay. Right. I think it was the Moody Blues that said thinking is the best way to travel. And we do, don't we? All right. Today's Connect, Unite, Act Daily Codes community calendar. Where are you? There you are, all the way over there. Is facilitated, as it is every Tuesday, by the great cartoonist Eric Lewis. And his question today is politician worship. And I don't know, maybe not. You know, some people like kind of worshipped Churchill or FDR. I was certainly, as a kid, I thought John Kennedy was We never said the bee's knees, but I think like a great uncle might have used that term on occasion. The bee's knees.
Yep.
I certainly liked Bobby Kennedy. Was very enamored with Bobby Kennedy. Eugene McCarthy. I was enamored with Eugene McCarthy as a youngster as well. Politician worship. I don't know. I liked Jerry Brown, but there was lots of Jerry Brown that I didn't like. I worked on his campaign several times for president and governor. Thought he was a pretty good mayor of Oakland. Some people don't. I thought he was a pretty good, effective working governor. Working mayor. And, but I don't know, worship? I don't know. Not for me. I will say that when, I mentioned this before, when, Obama would be in town in San Francisco giving a speech at Mark Hopkins, when they would drive by, he waved at me one time. I was out in front of the boutique bed and breakfast I was employed at, waving at the motorcade. And I don't know, I mentioned you could feel the energy. I just thought it was fairly interesting. Let's see here. Oh, it said, okay, Chris does say that he's nearby and that for some reason his phone didn't ring, so you can try again.
All right.
But let me go through the rest of this Connect, Unite, Act Daily Coast community calendar then. All right. So, of course, there are groups forming right now, and one of those is the Wisconsin Cossacks. So you'll want to get a hold of Chris the Colladem by Cosmail if you'd like to become a member of the Wisconsin Cossacks. And Navajo does maintain the event list, and if you have an event, hey, we'll be with you right away, Chris.
Yeah, we're just doing the calendar, but we'll get right back to you.
We'll get right to you. So, Cosmail Navajo, if you have an event or a group that you'd like to form, and she'll put you in the proper list. So, New England Cossacks are going to meet up on Saturday, April 22nd at noon at Flatbread Pizza in Portland, Maine. Cosmail and Hawks 42 to RSVP a seat. Navajo will be in New York City on Sunday, April 23rd at Spitzer's Corner, 101 Rivington Street in the Ludlow District at high noon. Cosmail Navajo to join her and the New York Cossacks for a lunch. And Thinking Fella and Ojibwa have been organizing the third Epic Glacier National Park meetup held on June 30th through July 2nd. Get a hold of them, but also there's a very important diary about important planning details that you'll need to check out. And the Netroots Nation 2017 Daily Coast annual Cheers and Jeers dinner, Wednesday, August 9th at 5:30 p.m. at a location to be determined. Cosmail Navajo to RSVP. And that way we'll also determine the size of the venue. And Bill in Portland, Maine is on the mend and feeling rather chipper. So it'll be great to see him at the Cheers and Jeers annual dinner. That is your Connect, Unite, Act Daily Coast community calendar for the 28th of March of 2017. And hi, Chris. Good to connect with you. I figured you're busy, or it could have just been solar activity interrupting the signal.
No. We just finished the vote on Medicaid expansion on final action, and it is now headed to the governor's desk.
Yeah.
My gosh. Okay. Well, why don't we go ahead and start with that, because Medicaid expansion was being led by the Kansas Senate. And your diary said that Brownback was essentially sitting by. Does that mean that he wasn't lifting a finger for or against?
No, he was in the building. He was not been said. What of us found interesting was he wasn't actually out there twisting arms against.
Okay.
The governor's office.
You kind of broke up and got buzzy there, so.
Oh. Sorry about that. But the governor's office wasn't they weren't using their clout people for a no vote. Around the building, he's there, made it no. But normally in a case like this, if he really wanted to, push it, he would be calling senators in and telling them they couldn't vote or, didn't try any of that. There was none of that going on. And so today on final action, it passed 25-14. Now that's 2 votes short of a veto override, and we're 1 vote short of a veto override in the House, right, but darn close. And so Brownback is going to have to debate how many vetoes he wants to send back, because he's going to have to, if he wants to get into fights with the House and the Senate this year, he may have to veto and send back a lot of legislation, and a lot of it with a lot of Republicans on the other side.
Now, excuse me for being a political cynic in my increasingly old age here. I'm under the impression nothing goes on in Kansas without the Koch brothers' approval. Is this, from Koch brother approval, basically a hands-off approach? Is Brownback afraid of his own political survival? What are the backdoor dynamics in this relative inaction on his part? Because I can't imagine Brownback just standing back and letting things shake out. He's usually making a comment, this is the worst thing to happen to humankind. I mean, it's just.
Oh, I'm sure they'll issue statements here in a bit. I'm expecting that. The Kochs are very opposed to this.
Right.
But it's just one where a lot of the people in the state house are now the ones who beat them in the primary or the general. And so they have no allegiance to the Koch money. And some of them, in fact, are, they faced Koch mailers and all of that in the 2016 election. And so this for them may be a little bit of a sweet payback.
Now, Brownback was floated as, possible nominee for an ambassadorship, which would save his political career in some way. I haven't really, of course, I'm not in Kansas politics every day, but I haven't been hearing much about that because really, the federal government administration is embroiled in some other things. Does Brownback come up for re-election? Is there another place that he can land in?
No, Brownback is term limited, so he is done. So unless he latches on inside the Trump administration, this is it. His political career is pretty well finished.
Wow. I'm just I'm trying to wrap my head around how there's not a real fight, at least on Brownback's side, against this Medicaid expansion. It just seems like something he would knee-jerk into, and to sort of lay back. I'm curious on, because I'm thinking, that politically we're finding a lot of folk don't want to rile their constituents with the idea of like, oh, well, we're just going to take your health care away. And but so Medicaid expansion will be fought. I mean, even though it's come out of the Senate, the Koch brothers will lay their considerable resources and let their feelings be known, and then will people go in lockstep, or will the
no? What'll happen is the Kochs will urge Brownback to veto, and he will, and then they'll say, look, you're 2 votes short of a veto override in the Senate, and they'll hope that pays off. And they can make sure that they uphold his veto.
Okay. Well, then that I think actually dovetails nicely in the special election in Kansas 4, and I guess maybe we'd want to meet a fellow by the name of James Thompson. You want to fill us in on him?
So James Thompson is a civil rights attorney who is in Wichita proper. So he has he won a short convention in a really short election cycle. So this is an election cycle where we went from convention to actual election. The turnaround is 60 days. We're coming down to the close with the election on April 11th. And his campaign is making an effort to reach out to voters who traditionally didn't vote and a lot of voters who are angry at, of course, Trump administration, Brownback, and all of those. Now, the good news for them is their opponent, Ron Estes, has run a pretty feckless campaign. It's kind of been a campaign of, I'm going to win by default because I'm the Republican. That's been his strategy in a district that's predominantly Republican. But he is he was a Trump elector, so he was one of the ones who cast an electoral vote for Donald Trump. He is our state treasurer in a period at which our state treasury has been broke thanks to Sam Brownback. So, one of the memes around him has been that he's rubber check Ron, because the state doesn't have the money. And he's also the one who's run campaign ads that are, frankly, complete rips, just absolutely stolen from candidates in other states. I mean, almost shot for shot. I put up examples of a campaign ad that he literally stole from Georgia. So you're talking about a campaign on the Republican side that's just painting by the numbers. Meanwhile, on the Democratic side, it's one where we have phone banking that's went on from multiple states. We've had people from Mississippi, Alabama, Washington, Nevada, Wyoming, Nebraska, all of those call into Kansas 04 to try and get out voters who are normally not voters. They had a huge women's march there in that city. And in a special election, it's hard to know exactly what will happen. It could return to Republican form where Democrats stay home. But on the other hand, it could, turn around and you could have, excited and angry Democrats turn out and depressed Republicans. And then who knows what happens. Special elections are kind of a crapshoot because it's hard to know what the math is going to look like.
Describe to me Kansas 04. Is it more rural than town, or?
No, Kansas 04 is majority Wichita, which is the largest city in Kansas.
Gotcha.
I mean, people think of Kansas City, Kansas,
right.
But Kansas City is divided across two state lines. So while the Kansas City metro is bigger, the single biggest city is Wichita. And, of course, you're talking about the home of Koch Industries.
Right.
So, their big building is literally in the dead center of Wichita, down in their downtown area.
How tall is it? 4 stories?
So, it's a nice sized building.
Okay. All right.
The more earthquakes we get, we'll see. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I was going to say. I mean,
but
4 stories in the Midwest, you might be, in trouble.
Yeah. But this is a district that has one metro center, and then is surrounded by. It's a 17-county district. The urban center, Wichita proper, and a few of the outliers, and then you've got basically 14 more rural counties that surround it. Mm-hmm. And so it is that some of them are suburbs, some of them are actual rural. We're going to have to see what plays out. I think that there's, special elections like this one are interesting because there's never any sure thing. There's never any, this is what we know is going to happen. Because you just don't know who's going to show up and vote. So depending on what kind of intensity we can get on our side, anything is possible.
Now I know that you're, of course, well placed in Democratic politics in the region. I'm thinking, where I used to live in the Bay Area, if there was a situation like this, the various machines and the different municipalities may come to the fore that are part of this congressional district. Now, we already know about the Koch influence, and I suppose, what is the political makeup of Wichita City's political landscape? Are they run by the Kochs and the Republicans? Is that machine what we are arrayed against? And how organized is the Democratic machine in the area?
Actually, one of the things that's really been good for us is that Wichita, the city proper, has elected, as well as some of the outlying areas, has elected more and more Democrats. So from down there, we have several legislators like
Okay.
Crum, Bishop, Ward, Carmichael, Ponkoee, Gail Finney on the House side. And then on the Senate side, we have several senators, including a new state senator in Lynn Rogers. So it's one where Democratic gains have been ongoing. We gained 2 more House seats and a Senate seat down there in 2016, and that's really good for us. That also gives that campaign, some ground to work with, some elected local officials who, provide them footholds into those districts, especially districts that are overwhelmingly Democratic, where, we've got to boost some turnout, especially in our minority majority districts and some of the districts that are just overwhelmingly Democratic. And, I think that's a good sign for that campaign. That's something that they can help build on. And we're going to have to see. A big part of it is making sure those people actually turn out. And that's something we've all got to focus on.
Do you sense sufficient outrage to bring out Democratic voters for a special election? And then will that resonate into the midterms?
In CD4 in the Wichita area, it's going to be really difficult because you can, and I don't mean difficult to win, I mean difficult to know how this is going to look.
Right.
Because you can get a sense from one part of the district, because the district overlaps between urban and rural, it's hard to get a feeling for, the sense of the whole district and what could happen. If we have a whole lot of turnout in, Trump-happy red areas and it's really high, that's not so good for us. But if we have good turnout in our districts, it's really good for us. And in a special election, we're going to have to put our ground game to work and see what we can do to, bring home a win. Now, as far as that goes towards 2018, one of the things we're already starting to do is the state party and the county parties have already started to assemble candidate recruiting and training functions. And we put a whole lot of our resources into betting on 2018, not just in our federal races, but also into our state house races. And of course, we'll have statewide that year in the governor and secretary of state and those races. So we're hopeful that if our early investment now into those kind of training programs in those districts will pay off in 2018, and we can take the amount of wins that we had this year and repeat it in, we can take the amount of wins we had in 2016 and repeat that in 2018. And that will be good for us, in the state house, the state senate, maybe a governor's mansion win, but also we'll be looking at several congressionals, including maybe defending this one if we win it in the special election.
Well, I was going to ask, has the National Party identified anybody? Is Thompson getting any money thrown his way, or is it just everybody's on their own right now?
I think most of the campaigns are on their own. I've reached out and spoken to some of the people within the National. Now there's something brewing right now that I can't get into, but I think that there's hope that something may happen on that front. But for right now, what has happened is the National Party sent out directives to all the state parties everywhere in the country and said, let's support our 3 special election candidates, and offered ways for those state parties everywhere in the country to support, Ossoff and Thompson and Quist and do what we could, from afar to do that. And then the National has also more recently started to put up some digital ads for candidates. I know no matter what state you are in, you may see an ad for Ossoff or Quist or Thompson, especially if you're not in the state where they're at, to encourage out-of-state donors in states that are heavily Democratic to donate to one of these 3 campaigns. So, we'll have to see how that stuff pays off, but it's at least something. It's not as much as some of us wish for, but it's also not a bad idea.
Okay. Now I want to speak about the ISP issue, but first, this was rather heartening and born out of a tremendous tragedy. A white supremacist walks into a Kansas bar where software engineers and foreign HB1 workers are congregated with others in this area, and essentially goes around and asks people about their immigration status, and then starts shooting and kills a guy or two and injures many. And a local man stood up to the guy and got shot. Well, the Indian community feted him. Apparently, he's still on the mend as well, and came up with a sizable check. This is, to me, just an example of the good-heartedness of people. How is that playing in the area? Can you speak a little bit about it?
You know, I think one of the negatives that has happened around the Trump administration is that they have tried to portray us as, you know, there's some animosity and people, you know, hatred amongst people, racial division and all of that. And in the case of Grillett, the man who jumped in front, you know, jumped out there, tried to chase down the shooter and got shot. You saw an average common guy, you know, any of us off the street, who just in the snap of the moment said no, you know, and he threw himself into a dangerous situation because he believed what was happening was wrong, and he felt that he had to do something to stop it. And that snap judgment kind of shows, you know, at the heart, most people, I truly believe most people, see violence, they see these terrible things happen, and they can't be a part of it. They don't want to be a part of it. And so when he did that, the Indian community, and in this case I do mean Indian, right. Community, really got together and said, you know what, we should show some support for this, and say, you know, hey, we work together. We're team people. This is somebody who put his life on the line, you know, for no other reason than he thought that this act of racism and hatred was wrong. And I think it's part about Grillett, and I think the other part about it is a chance for that community to say, you know what, we're not just, you know, we're not a target group. We're people who, you know, inhabit the world and want good things too. And if you think of us as people who do good things or good for your community, you know, who care about each other, it makes it a lot harder for you to target us for these kind of things. And I think it was a powerful narrative to just say, you know, we got to knock off this hatred against immigrants. You know, here was somebody who basically said, you know, nobody deserves this. And I've often said, and this sometimes gets interpreted wrong, but Fred Phelps, who was the wild anti-gay person, the more wild anti-gay he was, the more people on the other side who said, oh my God, I can't be part of this. You know, that is too far. That's crazy. And it caused a lot of people to reevaluate their views and say, you know, these people who are these hateful gay people, I can't be in any way on board with that. And I think one of the things that Grillett's, you know, stand up to the person who did the shooting was it brought out the issue of, hey, these people who are spouting off all this hatred and racist, you know, content, I can't be aligned with them. I don't want to be on the same team that they're on. And I think that's, you know, outside the political implications, I think that's, as far as humanity, good. It's a chance for all of us to step back and say, hey, is this really the narrative that we want to send to kids and everyone else, that, you know, we want to be on the same team as people who do, you know, these kind of horrible things? You know, and I'm hoping it starts to change people's minds about the kind of rhetoric they use in regard to immigrants and people on H-1B visas.
Right. Well, we're a little bit over, but let's speak really quickly. Did the House have a bill that came out on this ISP issue, and the Senate is responding to it
today?
Or will so the House is responding to the Senate's bill. Is there any chance of our browsing history and keystrokes being up to third-party purchase?
Very high chance that this could pass. So if you want this to be defeated, please call your congressperson and tell them to vote no on this. And frankly, just tell them you'll start buying up their history if they do this. But make it clear to them, no, our browsing histories are where we go on the should not be sellable to the highest bidder. That is bad for our personal privacy. It is bad for people seeking jobs. It is bad for your personal credit. It's bad for you getting insurance. It is all around bad.
Hey, which is better, because Laura Clausen had a front page diary with a petition that you could sign. Which is more effective right now, the email or a phone call?
I would jam their phone lines right now. We're coming down to the last, day or two. I mean, now is the time. Man the phones. Call your representative. Make it clear that you are a no. They need to be a no.
All right. Thanks, Chris. We'll do that. And folks, no. All right. We'll talk to you next week. Thanks so much for today.
Thanks.
All right, folks. Well, we're going to bug out of here. Got Hartman coming up about 6 minutes after the hour. In the interim, we'll listen to Esborn Svensson Trio's Dodge the Dodo. And stay tuned to Netroots Radio 24/7, 365. Why? Well, because who loves you, baby? Oh, and one other thing. Wink. I'll see you on the other side.
All right. We're out.